So welcome. This is the second session with YouthLink, and I am very happy to welcome you all in this room. Today we will try to build on the content of the first session, and to start, I would like to ask you, according to you, what could be a safe environment in Auroville and in an organization that lead everyone to feel safe to express one's true self without fear or judgment.
I think it's a process. It's not something that can be created over one day or a conversation. I think it's a process where we also have to sometimes accept these judgments and recognize and be aware of the differences in culture and differences in the experiences we had in our life, and so for understand each other and respect the way we communicate by also helping each other understand what can be inappropriate or maybe it doesn't fit the conversation or the environment itself. I think it's a process that can be done when people have the will to want to do things together. And as I said, it will not exclude the negative aspect of sometimes having not the same opinion or the same feelings about things, but how to move it forward with respect and love in that sense.
Something that comes to my mind is that usually when I'm in a space and I'm fearing to be judged by other people, it's mainly because I'm in a space myself where I'm judging myself, and so I feel that fear. So I think that in order to go over that fear, you need to be able to love yourself and stop judging yourself. So to create that kind of atmosphere, you need a space that helps you love yourself also.
So I really agree with what you said, but I also think just saying it in the beginning, like this is a safe space for everyone, and making it clear that, hey, this is going to be conversations about certain people and we're going to try not to judge will help a lot. Just simply not being judged.
I also think that one of the main aspects is to learn compassion. I think without compassion, we will not be able to find a safe space or trust within the group. And in order to build that trust, you need to also feel compassionate with yourself, as Madhu mentioned, to love yourself and to be able to want to give that to the other person. So despite the differences in opinion and ways of functioning, if the compassion is available, present, it will bring a light side to the room that after the debate or after the conversation you had or constructive criticism you gave to other people and all, you still know that there is that love behind and you will not take it with ego and hurt. It might come also some hurt, but it's not something that you might hold on forever, and it makes you grow actually. Often judgments are not just negative if it's constructive. It can be, that's why we have relationship, I find. We're there to teach each other, to show each other and grow together like that through good and bad.
For me also, we need to kind of agree about the definition of what is like safety, what is safe. There is like different layer. It can be like the physical safety, the emotional safety, the mental safety. And I feel for like all these three things, it's kind of require different things. So you have to be ready also to work with the people to build the same like definition of what is the safety for everybody and to be able to reach that.
I'd also like to add that in order for a space to really feel safe, I think it's helpful to have an acknowledgement of where everybody is at the current moment. That the particular point in time and the particular action that you do does not define who you are. That we acknowledge each other as individual beings in a certain process, and to recognize that they are on a learning curve just as we all are, helps us take away that judgment part in itself.
So does it mean that to some extent, even though one arrives in a group without a complete sense of safety or well-being, at some point the group can hold him and lead him to become more at ease? Does it goes in both ways, as an individual to a group, and then the group can carry also and hold the individuals?
Yeah, for me it's completely linked that the environment in which you evolve, it can impact your feeling of safety.
And just the acknowledgement that we're trying to build a safe space together is also sometimes just enough to kind of de-escalate certain situations and to link people again. Before we start a topic that we know is going to get heated, for example, if we say, okay, we're trying to have a non-judgmental perspective on this and try to create a safe space where everybody can express themselves how they want, sometimes just the acknowledgement itself is enough for people to be more mindful about the way that they speak and hold themselves and also hold each other.
So I don't think there is a right way to, for everybody to hold space, as in everybody might needs different ways of being held. And so for that's why I believe that there is a process in between where you learn about the person, and because you ask if somebody's new, is the process the same for them to join a group that already exists or organization that already exists? It's like building a relationship. You get to know each other, you learn from each other, you get to know how to communicate with different people, and out of that to be mindful and try and find a way that works for everybody. And I think it's kind of like finding a middle place for everybody and not one person compromising and the other one not, or but yeah, to really learn about the other person and find the best way that can help. And yeah.
I think active listening is a really big part of not judging, and when you go to a group with the intention of not judging, and that's already an intention that's set, then you're actively working on not judging, and at the same time you're able to welcome new ideas that you might react a bit badly to if it was in a different situation, but you're able to hold yourself and say, no, wait, I want to reflect on this properly and see before I give a response.
Also, one thing I find very important in any society or groups or organization is that it narrows down to smaller groups. Let's say the organization grows and there is a big group of people and everybody's involved in a way that is lateral and not hierarchical. It needs to be divided in smaller groups from my perspective, because if you have a big group, you will never be able to be aware of everybody around you. And so for that, you risk to enter the emotional space or your ego or whatever in a negative way. But if you have a concentrated group and you know that that group is a safe group you're in, already that helps a lot, I find. One thing observed by some of the meetings we had in the community, we call them general meetings, and we have all kind of people coming together. Not everybody can talk, not everybody feels safe to talk. not everybody knows each other, and we always end up having the same people talking all the time, and then people start feeling exclusive, and like maybe next time I don't come because anyway I can't do anything about it. And so like how can we move a little forward from that? If it's informal it's one thing, but if we're trying to get decision and move forward and create, then I think smaller groups are a much better go than bigger groups.
So actually, when we first started with our new group of YouthLink members, when we started fresh, we didn't have that we weren't able to create that safe space in discussions. So in the beginning, we had a lot of rough times with each other, lots of arguments and such. And so what we actually did at that point was to bring in a facilitator to hold team building exercises and team meetings. And team deep sharings, we call them, where we were kind of just like crying and shouting and with the help of a facilitator to hold that space. And some of the tricks or tips that I saw that the facilitator used is that, for example, there's no wrong answer. Every answer is respected, reiterated just to make it clear, and then they let the group sit with that opinion or thought. Another thing is that everybody's feelings and emotions are acknowledged. Nobody's wrong for feeling something or thinking something. So already there's not a fear to be shunned down from what you're saying or from what you're doing. And I think that that itself is already enough for people to feel open enough to start sharing a little bit more the deeper aspects of themselves. And because when you're scared of being judged, I think the real blockage that comes is the fear of being vulnerable or showing weakness. But once we are able to show weakness, that is when really the safe space is established, when we can show the softest sides or the parts that we're most ashamed about to each other. And once we have that kind of going, a lot of the other things become not so important. Because, for example, I know how vulnerable somebody is towards a certain topic, then I can be aware that if it comes up, I make sure to hold that space because I know how hard it could be for somebody who has gone through that, as an example. So it's kind of slowly tuning in that way as well.
So could we say that if we go back to the topic, which is organization from the psychic perspective, that individual skills like goodwill or compassion or whatever might not be enough to create a good organization, because we might have also to set a frame, some kind of structure that might allow also people to express themselves freely and to be in a safe space, because goodwill and compassion might also lead to some awkward position, or could we say that?
On the fundamental level, I think it's really about how aware we can be of each other at any given point. If we're really able to be aware, let's say, for example, while I'm talking, if I start to see that multiple people are starting to get bored or don't agree with what I'm saying, I should be able to pick that up and ask or do something in order to acknowledge, is this the right path that we're going on or not? And the whole group can, I think, if we're aware enough, be able to judge and regulate ourselves in order to not need a facilitator or such, and with goodwill and kindness itself, on a technical level, be able to get to a healthy organization or decisions. On a more realistic note, though, or to my perception, more realistic note, I think kindness and generosity and these kind of very positive traits also tend to come with a big shadow in the psychology, where, for example, if a person who thinks that they're very kind or good is not acknowledged for their kindness, it can turn sour really quick and they can get hurt really quick as well. On a similar note, if you're trying to show that aspect of yourself extensively to the point where you're not going to disagree with something, even though it's something that you really disagree upon, it's also not going to lead anywhere. And if we're not aware of these kind of different shadows or traits that we're trying to show each other, or an appearance that we're trying to keep up, if I'm not aware of how the other people in the group are, it also becomes very difficult for me to get rid of my own defense mechanisms in a way. And I think that's where a facilitator can really help out, where they help you take away some of these barriers so that you don't have to directly interact with another participant. The facilitator can be the middle person that takes information that you're putting out and then make sure that the flow is being held and the other people are following with similar ideas.
But I guess on a practical level, I think the posture is compassion and will and love and all of that. But I think there are technical aspects to it that can make an organization flow much better and not get stuck into things. There are all things to explore, of course, but I even find that Mira Alfasa herself gave a beautiful structure of how to divide things in Auroville and how to integrate ourselves into those categories and from the posture of service and all of that. And if we observe even nature, nature may look a little bit chaotic, but it's very organized in the way the system is nurtured and how things help each other. And I think as humans, we quite lack that. We don't have, maybe, not as humans in parts, we don't have an organization that is fluent and I think if we would make that a little better already, our mind would be much more relaxed and don't need to think about too much of things, but actually act on it and not. I noticed when we built YouthLink, for example, the first year and a half, it was really difficult because we didn't have a structure given to us. And we had decided to take the journey to build the structure ourselves. And in the years, I could see how things got much easier to do and to deliver and to, talk about things by finding different elements that can help us hold space, write documents, do this, do that. So, and the stress level kind of went down because maybe before it was a lot of research, a lot of finding out error and trials. And I think Auroville is a beautiful place like that where we are in these errors and trials and achievements and constant research of how to go about things. But I feel we lost a little bit the connectivity between things. And how can we reconnect everything, not just on a technical level, but also an emotional level. But I think also mainly technical, how can we make things flow in a way that it's not individualistic and go away from, but I want to do this, and so I will do my own thing, and but really come back to the collective direction. And I know it's easier to say probably than to do. It's a process. I'm learning more and more that we can't rush into it as much as sometimes we have the realization of, oh, that's it, we already have it. But as humans, we have to decode and relearn and observe a lot.
I think also the notion of time, it's very important, because with time it's that will help you to build the trust. And to come back to your question, if kindness, compassion and all that, it's enough, I will say no, it's definitely not enough, because it's when I feel it's when you are triggered and on your dark spot, especially when you are not kind, especially when you are not compassionate, that it's that's the difficult moment. And it's how people in the organization handle you when you are like that at that time, and when and how you handle yourself when you are on this stage, who make the difference and who make the space safe or not. Like, for example, if I'm not feeling good, if I'm not able to take care of myself and I'm not feeling safe, like other people, like they know, okay, Aurore, she's not feeling good, because they know me and they know like what I need at that time, they will be able like to bring me like the support that I need. So I think time, and like, because we need like time to build this trust, it's important as well, than kindness and like compassion.
I'd like to disagree with that statement somehow, because I feel that sometimes groups that are complete strangers that meet on that day with or without a facilitator can work out better than groups that have a past, because that affects the way you treat each other a lot and there's already a dynamic in play. While if it's a group of strangers, sometimes you find it easier to open up and share.
So it's an interesting debate, because it looks like there is nothing is enough actually to build some perfect safety place, and there are a lot of, let's say, good conditions to fulfill, but there is no the ideal shape. Back to the involvement of the youth in Auroville and in whatever organization. Would it be possible that the youth and YouthLink in particular could be take more leadership in the organization, because this kind of sharing are also meant to highlight the specific skills of each particular group. So would it be possible to see one of you in a working committee or in a FMC one day, or should you wait for, I mean, how is it possible to bridge the generations and not to wait for you to have been, let's say, so-called endorsed or whatever, but to bring your skills and your goodwill and your vision in whatever organization in Auroville or elsewhere?
Yeah, first of all, I think one of the things that we've started saying quite often in YouthLink is that YouthLink is like a university. Like for some of us, it's like an Auroville University where we can learn a lot of different things on the job. And one of the things that we've been saying also is that eventually people who graduate from YouthLink, and I'm doing air quotation marks, could potentially become some sort of leaders within the community as well in their next job, to bring some of the cultures that we have created within YouthLink to other parts. Now, when it comes to taking up those positions and being on that line of work, and I'm going to talk more personally from my personal side, because I don't know how everybody else feels. We have had some talks here and there about it, but nothing really concrete. But for myself, I would only take up that position if the community thinks that we should be in that position. And that means zero effort almost. And I don't mean zero effort as in I don't have to do anything and all the work will come to, like all the things will come to me. But in the sense that there's no resistance, at least. That it is something that, it of course makes sense that these people are there in those groups. If it comes to the point where people say, of course it makes sense that you guys are doing this part of organization for Auroville, then we will gladly, or probably check a little bit, but probably be open to taking up those kind of positions. At the moment, I think we're still in developmental phase, where we're not 100% ready with our skills or with our understandings or ideas of Auroville, or at least that's how I feel personally. And if the time comes and the right, I don't want to say position, but the right thing that is needed to be done is right for me to do it, then I would like to step in and do that.
There are a few elements to look at from the past maybe 20 years, 15 years, where we had a huge gap in generation in Auroville. Like, you know, we are the generation between 20 to 27, and, you know, the older generation to us that could have also built something in Auroville as such in the groups and like participate into that integration. At the time, their interest was not there because that's how it was, and they put more energy into developing maybe business or this or that, and that left a lot of gap into knowledge also between groups. Like the adults stopped meeting the youth stopped meeting the adults. About 7 years ago, I was organizing these night classes in youth center, and the whole idea was that I had no idea much about the organization of Auroville and how we function in economy, town planning, this and that. And I was really curious, and I thought, how about doing classes that are open for other people to learn as well. So I started inviting people from the groups, from TDC, from BCC, this, that. And the idea was that they share how do they function and what are their roles in Auroville, and the youth gets to know actually like how does Auroville function. And that's where I found out that I wasn't the only one not knowing it. And actually most of the youth grows up not really understanding Auroville. And I think that would be the first step to change in order for the youth to participate, to have a space for them to learn about these things. It's also tricky because a lot of youth don't care, and it's okay like that. Their path is somewhere else. Maybe they are more into learning other kind of things that the community needs. And yeah, how to provide a space where we can actually be informed and follow the processes with someone that can also teach us those kind of things. Even when you become, I was newcomer, I wasn't born here, and when you turn Aurovillian, nobody's there to really teach you anything. There is a Yucca program. It's a 3 days program where, you get a lot of information, but it's very hard to process and to really dive into. And one might say, oh, you can just go and read all the policies, which I tried, and it's not simple. As a youth, at least there are a lot of concepts that maybe we don't understand, or they're not so tangible on paper, or things like that. And as Namu said, it would be really nice to feel wanted somehow in the community as youth, because the past many years there has been a lot of judgment onto the way the youth lives in Auroville and what do we do, and our education, and there is no trust put onto us for jobs, and there is no maintenance given, and so there are all kind of things that I remember once someone asked me, why don't you join TDC to write emails and just learn from there and like listen, and I was like, would a maintenance be provided because I don't have savings? And they said, no, if you just come for the maintenance, then don't come. And I replied, it's not about me coming for the maintenance. I have interest, but I need to eat. I need to pay my rent in Auroville. And so I think that's one limitation, that a lot of the jobs that are offered to youth don't come with the maintenance. And there is a big judgment onto the youth. And I'm not claiming that the whole community has that, of course not. But it's pretty strong. Starting from the youth center and how things went down there, and all the kind of thoughts that people have about it. And through YouthLink somehow we managed to create this space because someone saw us and respected us, and they saw potential of growth, and they decided to support us. And that's how we found our first safety. We were like, okay, actually somebody's giving us a chance to learn and to grow. And from there, I learned myself that I was living in scarcity. I was constantly feeling that I don't have access, even though Auroville has so many things. But then I'm always stuck in that, oh, I need to find a job because otherwise I don't have a maintenance, and if I don't have a maintenance, I can't live in Auroville. And other kids do the opposite. They say, oh, I can't live here, I can't afford this, so I'll go out and work, and maybe stay out for 5, 6, 7 years and have no clue of what's happening in Auroville. And it's nobody's fault, honestly. It's how the system have been inbuilt so far does not facilitate the youth to want to stay in Auroville as such. And not just Aurovillian, volunteers, like so many things. Maybe I stop here, but yeah.
Also, if they're asking youth to come join into the working groups, I personally request that it's not that youth become a poster child of some sort. I think a lot of the times the idea, the word of youth is kind of like a buzzword. And just the fact that you have a Auroville youth on your team, there's certain connotations or feeling of righteousness for having a youth in the group. I will not say name of which group, but there's a certain, anyways. And if we are being asked to come join the group, it's because there is a trust in the ability of the individual that is being asked to do so, not just because this person is of a certain age or a certain gender or a certain ethnicity. I think that defeats the point of having this kind of an organizational style. I think in Auroville there's some people who are very old in age who are still very youthful in energy, and I feel very comfortable with some of these people talking on the behalf of youth, or again air quotation marks, or on behalf of me. I feel very comfortable because what they're saying aligns very well to what I feel. However, there's also young people who say things that I completely disagree with, but they say this is what the youth think. I completely disagree, and I know friends who also disagrees completely with what this person is saying, but it's taken as a representative just because of their background. And I personally have no intention of becoming one of these background representatives, or like the quota filling representative. Nor do I have the, I'll end there.
I think also the fact that we haven't been included or asked to join hasn't made it easier for any of us to come forth and join. And I think once maybe one person, one youth would join, it would create, or it could create a ripple effect, and in turn make more youth join. But there hasn't been, or at least to my knowledge, there hasn't been an active request of wanting more youth.
For me, it's also like with what Namo just said about don't get the feeling like to be used, but to have like a real like collaboration where our points are heard and like value. I see also that I will be a bit scared about like my freedom also to like be linked with this kind of group who are like very important in Auroville and who like are the weight of all the community in their decision and all that. I think maybe there is some, you have to be very aware of what you do and that at which point your decision can impact all the community. I feel right now personally like not ready for that. I feel it's like very important decision, and I will be a bit scared to lose my freedom also if I am like attached to such group. And what Lucrecia was saying also, in terms of youth, a lot of us don't have like some basic need who are like fulfilled right now, which means that it's very difficult to project yourself in the long run in Auroville. And I think when you are part of this kind of group, it's also that it's long-term commitment. And this notion of commitment also, I think right now it's very complicated to be able to commit as a youth in Auroville because it's so uncertain. I know it's uncertain for everybody, but especially for us. Or we don't have like saving, like some of us we are like far away from our family. Like in terms of job maintenance, the situation is also very unclear. And we are like kind of split between two like direction. We can, for example, like I'm French, I can go back in France, like do money and all of that. I'm still young, so I can pick up a job there. Or I can make the choice to stay here with this uncertainty. I think, there is a lot of people who it's more easy like to go back and involve yourself like in another like situation who can appear like more safe. For now, I'm happy where I am at YouthLink. I still feel I have like a lot of to learn. We can already, I feel, do a lot while being in YouthLink. So yeah, for me, it's not good time.
For me, I think it's been some time that it's been like evidence in my mind that YouthLink, as Namu said, feels like a university or also a parent at some point. So it felt like a natural process that I was in YouthLink, and I've been in YouthLink for a year, and already in a year I've changed so much and evolved so much. And I feel like it will continue for as long as I stay in YouthLink. But I've also thought that the moment where I want to leave YouthLink, I would want to join one of those working groups because I want to participate and contribute to Auroville. But I have two issues. The first one is that I love YouthLink too much, so what to do?
I swear we're not a cult.
We are. The second one is also that we had a member and a friend who left to work in another group. I won't mention which one. And she was really motivated also to bring the YouthLink culture there and bring love to her coworkers and bring some flower in the morning. She used to do that. And then she went there and she was completely shut down because she was new and a youth. And so whatever idea she tried to bring on, they were like, not now, try in 10 years. And then it's a bit too late. So yeah, that's another fear.
But it's repeating what Namoy said. It's like we have to have the space like to act also. If like there is no like if we have motivated and we bring all our like good energy and effort and all that, and if people are like too resistant, I don't see like the point to push and to like spread our like energy like for nothing.
Yeah, I agree with her. From my perspective, what I have understand or what I have view what YouthLink is doing, it's a very new concept. People don't understand it who are not living in here. I'm new to this place. So it's a good concept for the youth. They will understand their emotions. They will understand what they need mentally, emotionally. And it's good for their personal growth. And yeah, I am agreeing with a lot of people, but it's mixed. So yeah, these are my views.
I wanted to add on what Madhu and Ora said actually, that I think there are ways. When we're young people, it's very known that the main energy that we have is creativity and ideas and coming up with things, and we want to create. And if that creativity is shut, there is no point to be youth. And I remember an instance when the youth center started coming down, and we had to kind of plan ahead and try to sit with people and the groups and to see how we can plan further. And one of the architects of Auroville reached out to say, hey, we're willing to help. How about some of you youth come and we sit together with our architects and come up with a plan? And for 1 or 2 months, we sat every week in their studio, and none of us was architect. They had their skills, we had a lot of ideas and creativity, and together we came up with a plan. And that was a very inclusive process because, maybe I didn't have the technical skill, but I was included into the process of ideating and thinking, and that really motivated me to be part of the group setup, and even though it wasn't my job. And I think for that to happen, each group should be a little more open, as they said, to allow also the youth to express and to come with their own ideas, and not think that because we're youth we don't have the capacity to. And to go a little further, this is my own belief, but we're youth, but once maybe we had another life. So none of us is really older youth. We're all part of a journey, and we all have our knowledge. We all carry our knowledge that can be as much old as we want. And of course, there is a development aspect physically and in our brain that happens at sort of age, but that doesn't exclude that everybody is very intelligent, even the kids. I worked with kids in TLC, and it was crazy. Like, sometimes they had brilliant ideas, and I was like, wow, you just taught me a lesson, So I know a lot of people like to say that in Auroville, but how to put it into action and actually have that inclusivity.
So on a practical note, I think just from the feeling within the room, it seems like we don't want to step in as individuals to any working committee, working groups or organization structures. But I think we're also quite open to collaborate or give feedback or give our opinions when it comes to certain things. To anything. You can always ask us for our opinion, and we can say and we'll have a nice deep discussion about it. We'll have a deep discussion about it and see what is the general feel within that room. And of course, we won't cover every youth's, every background's, everybody's opinion. We cannot get every individual's opinion and say we're talking on the behalf of all of you, Auroville youth. We can't do that, but we can give one certain perspective to a question that one of the working groups might be having, as a practical solution of what we can do and how we can involve ourselves.
So this is well noted. I was thinking of some projection that Mother had at some point. She was thinking that Auroville could be led by, ideally, by a group of 4, 5, 6 people who could be connected to some kind of more intuitive or mind a little bit higher. And she did not mention any particular feature as a race, as a gender, as a age, whatever. So I would like us to reflect a little bit on that, because if we follow Mother's steps to envision a kind of council of wise people, it has never been mentioned that a wise people could not be a youth. So if we go back to the topic organization from a psychic perspective, could you envision that at some point could happen that a group of people randomly come together to create some kind of wise group of people that could lead Auroville, including some people from the youth? I don't speak about YouthLink as such, but a young person.
So next week we organize a workshop about facilitation and holding space.
It's interesting what you just shared, not about the workshop. But I think honestly there have been attempts to do that, and I think also these groups are quite flowing into members and this and that, but I feel that Dreamwaving tried to do a very good job with that, because there was an element where there were pillars, people to hold the project and organize it and structure it and all of that, but it really included all different aspects of the community. We've been called also multiple times to sit down and talk and share and all of that. I think yes, it can be that there are a specific group of people holding that space, but then they need to really act as a mycelium. Like they're not the center of everything, they're just spreading everything. So that they're creating a network for the community to happen. And I think, networking is very important like that, and not in the terms of, work, job or business or this or that, but really like how can we learn from nature to pass and give responsibility, as you were saying at the beginning of this conversation, and to know that what you're doing is as valuable as what they're doing, and just to recognize that I have some set of skills, you have others, and how can we put them in the plate and learn from each other until, maybe you also learn my skills and one day you'll take my place. Yeah.
I don't think it has to be 6 wise people. I think we could even have 6 toddlers making all the decisions. Because the real issue that we're having is not with the quality of the decisions that are being taken. It's about the rest of the community not being able to trust the decisions that are being taken. So instead of having wise people, because wise people means that there's like a little superiority complex and inferiority complex going on. Even if we take like 6 toddlers who are making random decisions, and the whole community decides to follow those decisions to the dot, or as best as possible, that itself would be an interesting enough experiment on consciousness and on like the exploration of the inner being. And yeah, I want to reiterate from that point that I think the real issue is the lack of trust within our community. The questions that we're having towards each other for our, again, quote unquote, now I said quote unquote and I forgot what I was trying to say. Quote unquote dirty deeds or ulterior motives. It's actually getting so much in the way of moving forward that we're all just kind of in a loop of breaking trust one time after another and not being able to move forward. So whether we have 6 people or 12 people or 1 person or whoever it is, as long as there's no trust to try something out and to experiment, I don't think, no matter how good of a decision we come to, it will not work. And yeah, I would love to build that trust together with the community. And I think that is largely what we're also trying to do, where through our work we're trying to show transparency, we're trying to show honesty, and trying to provide something that can build trust among other people who also just come to the workshops, because we try to also work a lot on sharing, open sharing and talking from the heart and things like that. Hopefully one day we'll have enough trust that no matter what decision comes forward, we can have some trust, and trust also in the universe to see something happen and not get so involved as an individual into it, but try to see it from a collective angle as Auroville instead of as me.
Ce que j'aimerais partager, c'est que, comme Dan l'a mentionné, je pense pas que la mère pensait à un âge en particulier ou à une nationalité. C'était vraiment d'accueillir les personnes de différents horizons. Et j'ai l'impression qu'avec le temps, les personnes qui vivent à Auroville ont pris le lead, et dans un sens où ils accueillent moins. Je suis désolée, je suis assez confuse, c'est difficile d'exprimer ma pensée, mais pour moi, il y a quand même un problème avec le fait qu'on doit être aurovillien ou newcomer. Moi, je suis volontaire, je suis arrivée il n'y a pas longtemps, et je ressens que c'est difficile d'exprimer ma pensée ou ma vision des choses, et que c'est important d'accueillir ce que les personnes viennent aussi déposer en venant à Auroville. C'est pas que être aurovillien, c'est être humain dans un sens, et que l'âge ne compte pas, parce que pour moi l'expérience ne vient pas que de l'expérience de notre vie physique, elle peut venir d'ailleurs, et c'est ce qui est important d'accueillir ici à Auroville, pas uniquement de devenir aurovillien, mais d'accueillir ce qui vient de l'extérieur, peu importe l'âge ou autre.
So it looks like Mother took a good sentence, because she said that Auroville was supposed to be the city of service, at the service of the truth, and we are constantly speaking to be more trustworthy to one another. So I think it's a very good point, trust and truth. be in the truth.
No, but fair enough you asked, because I think, actually the structure of the group itself could work if we act from that service space. In the sense that we, I saw in the years how things a little bit changed, and some people are in the groups really coming with that offering, and some people want power, and we're still humans, and that exists. So it's not gonna be possible unless we use our power in a compassionate way, because we all have it power. It exists. It's not something to shadow or anything, but how can we channel it? And if we channel it against each other, then there is not much growth. If we try to channel it for the good of where we want to go, then that's different. But as Namu asked, is how do we judge who's right, who's wrong, and who has the right direction and who's not? I mean, that's where we're having the old conflict in Auroville now, because, just to minimize it, to narrow it down, there are people that believe more in the evolution of the place on a physical level, and some more on a collective level and social level, and both are valuable. How to put them together, like instead of butt-heading on, sorry, on the two, like if one excludes the other, they don't. Both are very valuable.
There's a beautiful idea called egoistic altruism, which has become one of my new favorite words. Egoistic altruism. So altruism, when you do things for other people, right? You do things for the better of other people. And egoistic means for yourself. And with the two seemingly opposite words together, egoistic altruism is the act of doing something that's good for the benefit of others. And then somewhere later down the line, you benefit as well because it has benefited others. One of the prime examples of this is, for example, cancer research. You might not have cancer, but you donate a lot of money towards the research of cancer, so that other people who have cancer can get a cure faster. And then somewhere down the line, if you end up getting cancer, then you have also benefited, though it was an altruistic move in the beginning, you also benefit at the end from something that humanity as a whole has created. And in this way, I had a small thought that if we have these 6 people as an example, how about suggesting each of these 6 people to imagine actually the most altruistic and the most beautiful version of Auroville that they can. Instead of trying to fix things that are wrong, moving the other way and trying to make the most beautiful thing that is possible. And then instead of working with problems and solving issues, we're working with dreams and aspirations. And if we stop short of dreams and aspirations, we're still moving forward. Whereas if we stop solving problems, the problems still remain. And I think a lot of problems get resolved not by looking at the problem and trying to actively solve it, but by actually dreaming together and walking together forward instead of looking back. And these some problems resolve themselves. Like, for example, Luke and I get into a fight. If we keep talking about the fight, we might get into an even bigger fight. Whereas if Luke and I get into a fight, but then instead of fighting, we say, okay, let's go have an ice cream together. And then go play football, which is something positive moving forward. Somewhere down the line, we'll say, I'm sorry I told you that, I didn't mean it. And then Luke will say, I got angry too, I apologize. And these problems solve themselves because we're doing something positive instead of focusing on the negative.
This is life.
And on that note, even if the group of these 6 higher beings or wiser people even if they even if they do face like difficulties coming up with ideas or any difficulties of any kind, they also know that they have the whole community to fall back onto, and there's always that support.
J'aimerais aussi soulever un point qui me paraît important pour les personnes qui vivent à Auroville depuis un moment et qui ont qui ont toujours la même perception. J'aimerais apporter la perception par rapport au premier commandement, il me semble, enfin si je peux appeler ça un commandement d'Auroville, que Auroville n'appartient à personne. Sur le plan physique, c'est à peu près vrai, mais c'est pas le cas. Enfin, on sent qu'Auroville appartient aux Aurovilliens, et moi ça me fait pas sens, puisque pour moi on est tous Aurovilliens, peu importe si on habite à Auroville ou pas, tant qu'on aspire à ce rêve, enfin si je peux appeler ça un rêve, enfin voilà, tant qu'on aspire à ce que Auroville aspire, on est Aurovillien, et pour moi il y a un réel problème avec ce statut. Le fait qu'il y ait un statut, ça crée de la division. Tout comme, enfin, à mon sens, ça reste un gros problème dans l'humanité tout entière, la division. Et d'avoir ces statuts d'Aurovilliens, de volontaires, etc., ça crée encore toujours plus de division. Et c'est ce qui, pour moi, ne nous permet pas d'apporter nos idées tout ensemble. Enfin, j'espère que je me répète pas sur ce que j'ai dit tout à l'heure, mais c'est pour moi important d'apporter cette perception qui est quand même un des commandements principaux d'Auroville, que ça n'appartienne à personne. C'est censé que tout le monde puisse apporter sa petite graine, sa pierre à l'édifice.
I want to agree to that. I'm doing right now a facilitation online course. And we had a point in the last session about how it's very important the way you welcome people and the way you let them go. And I had a thought about how in Orville the way we welcome people is horrible. And the way we let them go is even worse for the few people we let go. So I think we really need to work on those two processes because they're very important and an essential part of a community.
Thank you for listening to this testimonial. If you would like to take part in this project on the inner being, or if you have any questions or comments for our team or participants, please feel free to contact us using the email at the bottom of this webpage.
This is Auroville Radio, voices from the city of Dawn.